I'm going to discuss 3D modeling and animations. The MapScenes Forensic CAD is the drawing program contained within MapScenes Point Cloud. It's a CAD-based drawing program. You have 3D drawing capabilities which allow you to draw as well as model in 3D. Basically, if you can visualize it, you can draw it. MapScenes uses a DWG format which gives you unlimited capabilities as far as locating 3D models and allowing you to import them into your drawings. The DWG format allows you to share files with other users. And finally, the MapScenes Capture is included in MapScenes Point Cloud. It's the powerful animation program. What we're looking at here is a top-down view of a surfaced intersection. This was a 3D model that was eventually used to create an animation. What I've highlighted here is the roadway surfaces, just to give you an idea on what they are. The scene does not look like your typical 2D top-down view of the line drawing. We're going to render the scene here and bring it to life, and what that does is it is going to apply colors to the surfaces that we created. We're going to pan around this scene here and point out some of the features of it. The top-down view of the roadway, sidewalks, and of the buildings. This scene was done with a total station, but it could easily lend itself to scan data as well, which would have expedited the process. What we're looking at here is the modeling of the sidewalks and the transition from the crosswalk up to the sidewalk. These features were all important to the client. The building itself that we're looking at, the garbage truck, was modeled in MapScenes. The Mitsubishi was a pre-existing model that was imported into the scene. We'll take a look at the approach for the Mitsubishi, and I'm going to point out this tree that we're going to take a look at here. Even this tree, the dimensions and the shape of it, the angle of the tree was important. Here's another scene. This is a top-down view of a freeway on-ramp. The photos that we're seeing here are features that the client wanted into the scene, the signs that were in place at the time, the freeway markings, the guardrail, the roadway, the on-ramp, the grade of the transition from the on-ramp onto the freeway itself was important to the client, as was the Jersey wall and the merge signs. Here's a top-down view of the scene, and again, it does not represent your typical line drawing because surfaces have been applied. The scene will come to life as we render it. And here we have a view of the freeway itself with the on-ramp, the signs that the client wanted in. What you're looking at also is the street lights, which are drawn to scale for measurements that were taken at the scene. The sign that the client wanted in. The markings for the merge. The freeway markings. The guardrail and all of the support posts were drawn in MapScenes and modeled as well. And again, the street light. We're taking a look at the approach from the on-ramp here. That's to scale, showing the guardrail and the Jersey wall. Here's some of the models that were brought into the scene, and again, these were brought in from an outside source. You got the BMW, the pickup truck, and the van. We're taking a look at some photographs of a truck and a tree chipper. This is a crash reconstruction case. I needed to create a 3D model of both of the vehicles that we're going to see here. You're not likely to find any pre-existing model from an outside source for these. So they were measured using a total station. The scanner would have expedited the process quite a bit. The concept is the same. You're going to take your dimensions off of the scan data or the total station data and create a wireframe, apply surfaces on it, and create your 3D model. This is a top-down view of the model. The cones on the back, the cage over the cab, and the box. Here's a side view of it. We even have the logo on the side that was attached with a photograph and a perspective view. So let's render it and see what it looks like. Top view, there's a cage. Cones on the back. Let's rotate it and take a look at the side view. We can look at the back and see the markings for the logo on the back. We have our cones. And the client in this case was very particular about the level of detail that he wanted it. This is a 2-scale model of both vehicles. This is the scene where the collision occurred. It was about maybe 3/4 of a mile, the entire scene. We're focusing on the last quarter mile, which is where the collision occurred. But again, in this case, the client wanted the entire scene measured and modeled in the event that we had to use it for court purposes. So the roadway extends back quite a ways. Let's render the scene and we'll take a look at the last portion here where the collision occurred from this view. And then you can see how far back the roadway extends. We'll look at our motorcycle rider here. The motorcycle itself was a DWG model that existed from an outside source. I had to bring it in. It did not have a fairing or a windshield on it, so those were added on using the MapScene software. The rider came from an outside source, so he had to be manipulated, his limbs, his arms, and his legs in order to fit on the bike. The green that you see here is the tire marks, the only physical evidence that existed at the scene, and they're in green just to make it stand out a bit. The utility poles that you see here, you may say that they're crooked, and that's the way they were at the scene when we measured them. Let's pan over here and take a look at our model that we brought in of the truck and the tree chipper. That marker on the road just represents where some of the evidence was, and we're taking a look at our second rider. Identical bike to the first, just a different color, but again we had to add the fairing and the windshield as well as the rider to it. So that'll wrap up this portion of the demonstration.